All right, everybody, welcome and thank you for joining this Speakers Roundtable for Nodes 2025. My name is Alexander. I'm part of the Neo4j Developer Relations team, and I'm super happy to have a round of guests today ahead of Nodes 2025, which takes place next week on the 6th of November, Thursday, where we have a full day of event. Basically 24 hours, lots of interesting sessions, 4 tracks, over 140 sessions by over 160 different speakers. So it's going to be fun. If you haven't registered yet, I put the link in chat and also in the video description. So I hope to see you there. If you're not quite sure of what to expect, if this is the right thing for you, then this event is supposedly giving you a little teaser of a couple of events, giving you a bit of a showcase of our great community from all over the place, and gives you a little bit of an insight into a couple of sessions that we think are interesting for you, and to give you a little bit of a taste, I would say. So without further ado, I would like to add my dear guests to this session today, and I'm having, and this is all without a particular order, but obviously women first. I'm happy to welcome Luanne Misquitta, Kateryna, Nesvit, Christian Franke, and Shubam Bakshi to the session today. Hi, everybody. How are you doing?
Hi.
Hello.
Super cool. Thank you very much for having you today. Thank you for joining to this teaser event. I would say maybe I can make you a little bit bigger. Here you go. This is better. To this little teaser event ahead of the event next week, and I see 3 speaker hoodies on. So Luan, Shubham, I hope you have yours maybe ready for next week, so we can get that going. But it's great to see you today. And yeah, I'd like to maybe give everybody the opportunity as a little round of introduction. And maybe we do this clockwise as it appears. So Luan, you would be the first one. Maybe you could share a few words, who you are, what you're doing, and so that people get a little bit of an idea about you as a person.
Sure. So yeah, my name is Luan, and I have been part of the Neo4j community for a decade and a half now. So that's a really long time. I do have my Nodes hoodie, Alex, but I'm based in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. It's almost 30 degrees at night. So
yeah, well, that's a good excuse not to wear a hoodie.
but yeah, I'm really happy to be back at Nodes. I worked I've been with Graphs like for, as I said, a very long time. Part of the open source community, working on Spring Data Neo4j at the time. That was many years ago. Then with GraphAware, and most very recently, my colleague Chris Williamson and myself wrote the O'Reilly book Neo4j: The Definitive Guide. And my talk actually at Nodes kind of follows on the same theme. So I'll talk more about that later. But I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for speaking. Thank you for writing that book. I had a couple of colleagues who were very excited about it and seen it, and I talked to Christoph the other day about it, and so it's a great book. So nice. We can probably make a little link into the chat later on. So next on would be Christian. How are you today, Christian?
Yes, hello. Thank you very much for inviting. I'm very happy to be here. I think I'm the baby in this round. So I learned Neo4j, I think 11 months ago. And we started in university in a course of advanced databases with NoSQL and Neo4j. And I did a part-time study, and I'm working also at SwissDRG here in the beautiful Switzerland in Bern. So that's why I need the pullover, because it's cold outside. And I combined work and study in my bachelor's thesis. And yeah, I come more from the relational database SQL BI corner. and graph was very new to me. And I think you have to model a little bit your data in another way. And that's why I want to tell about my mistakes and my solutions for other beginners, that they find a nice solution with their graph, knowledge graph projects.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I think that's an interesting journey, and definitely a journey that everybody probably shares, where we you begin to look at this new technology and this new way of data modeling, and you say, but we did everything in tables all the time. What's wrong with tables? And then you realize, well, something is wrong with tables. It's not gonna at some point you have some issues and you have some challenges you cannot solve with tables, and then you have to look at something else.
Yeah.
And you go on that journey, and then it's nice to have you, baby or not. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about your session in a little bit.
Thanks.
Yeah, let's continue with Katarina. Hi, Katarina. Welcome to the stream today.
Thank you so much. I'm Katarina Nesvit, and I'm a Ph.D. in numerical methods and simulations. Currently, I work at university as associate professor, like business statistics, but I also have my own business, and I do statistics for others and help to understand the data. Driven there, like 10 years ago, I started. I was very excited, and as you mentioned, like we just have knowns. We have like column sales, we have column of price, and there is no connection with this. And that brings me really understand where these connections are. And I have done on like social media when it's predict recommendation, on compensation tool. And right now I'm very excited logistics area and supply chain domain where everything is connected. That will be my talk this year on Neo4j on supply chain domain risk prediction. Prepared a couple of slides. Thank you so much for having me here.
Cool. Thank you, Katarina. And yeah, 10 years, amazing. That's another we're challenging year between you and Luan, I think. And last but not least, Shubham, welcome to the stream. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm in London, so it's all right. Usually it would rain around this time, but today it's pretty good. No, I'm Shubham. Thank you for introducing me. I work in Outshift, which is Cisco's incubator engine, and we kind of look at what technologies are out there sort of next 3-4 years, and how we can innovate in that. So recently we've worked with Linux Foundation and donated agency, which is like a framework to do agent composition, discovery, all that stuff. So I work in platform engineering, so where we basically provide a service to engineering teams as well as developers to take their applications from the laptop all the way to production. And recently, I'm sure everyone's noticing there's a lot of AI and agentic systems, and so we are looking at. In fact, we are also kind of very nascent in that in Neo4j. So we're looking at how we can use GraphRAG to inform the agents to understand our platform, our infrastructure, and to automate the service we provide, right? So that we have it takes away the toil work. So we created this open source project called CAPE, Community AI Platform Engineering, and so we are trying to use Neo4j as like the knowledge graph that powers these AI agents. And so that's what my talk is going to be about. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. No, thank you, Shubham. And while you already mentioned your talk, maybe we just dive in here with you. Your talk is in fully written out. Is called or is titled "Revolutionizing Platform Engineering with AI Agents and GraphRAG." So that is like you outlined already a little bit of it, what you're doing. I don't know. Do you want to give us a bit of an insight of what you're going to talk about in your session? Maybe you could give us a little insight into why you think that GraphRAG, as you mentioned it, differs here in contrast to relational databases? Why you chose this architectural pattern? Yeah, maybe say a few words about that.
Yeah, for sure. So so one of the key challenges in platform engineering is we are a kind of a service, right? And we become bottlenecks very quickly, right? Like every developer wants to go, hey, I want to deploy this application to production. I need to do it X, Y, Z way. And so we've said, no, wait. Here's a bunch of compliance. Here's a bunch of security requirements. Here's a bunch of things I need to do. And so about a year ago, we decided to see how we can use AI agents to enable that, enable self-service and all that stuff, right? So and initially, people, a lot of the questions that they will ask us, right, as platform engineers, is how do I do X? How I know, how, or what do I do to do Y, right? Or what is my pod doing, or why is it failing, and all that stuff, right? And so the issue is that those kind of things are something that can be automated, but it's not it's not easily you can't just write a script and automate those kind of questions. That's where LLMs are really good, right? And so we used the normal kind of RAG vector database. You create embeddings, put it in vector database and query, and we realized that the LLM doesn't really understand the relations of the different things within a platform and infrastructure, right? And so that's where we're okay, maybe we need to kind of highlight the relationships better to these LLMs and give them more context on how what the relationships are. And that's where we looked at using GraphRAG, right? And so there was some really, really good blogs by Neo4j on how to use GraphRAG and how to sort of generate the knowledge graphs and use them for retrieval. And so that's what we started using, and essentially the journey of how the talk is about the journey of what the challenges were, what approaches we took, and how the technology changed, and how we had to adapt with it, and where it's going in the future. So yeah, that's a sort of a brief sort of overview of the talk. I can go into detail. I can talk about it for a whole hour, but I don't want to do that.
We should leave some time for the actual talk, but I had one follow-up question on it, is because you mentioned it with vector RAG and GraphRAG, and then you have LLMs doing some of the work. How do you treat explainability and reliability and improving that? I mean, you went through a couple of iterations, it seems like, and you had checked the various systems, and especially with hallucinations and all these things. And I can imagine that in your field it is. I mean, it's in most fields important that you don't come up with bullshit. You want to have a true answer. And I guess, Christian, maybe you can talk about this as well a little bit in your sector in healthcare. But it's very important to get something that's reliable, that you can trust, and you think, okay, yeah, we are happy with the output. We are happy with what comes out of it, and we can confidently say, this is what we created, this is fine, and we can put it out to users in the real world. So how was your experience with that?
Yeah, no, exactly that, right? The thing was, we had a feedback system, and so people, when the LLM would hallucinate or say something, bullshit, it would, we would get that feedback, like, hey, this was wrong. The issue with the normal kind of vector RAG was that we don't know why, right? It was vectorized that way. And trying to figure out why it was vectorized that way, why the embedding model and whatnot, was a lot harder, right? So that's why the graph's explainability is a lot easier, because you can see okay, this is the edge. If I delete this edge, right, the AI agent knows that that's not a relationship that it can use to to answer. So it's a lot easier to then edit the knowledge that the agent has, over just having everything in a vector database and just retrieving just chunks, right?
Yep.
So and this is especially the case with security questions and answers. You don't want to BS about security and then give wrong advice and wrong data, because then they would the platform teams, the developer teams would go and implement the wrong thing. So yeah, that's our experience. Yeah.
Super. Yeah, very good. I just posted it in chat as well, but if you have obviously any questions to any of the speakers in general, we should have some time towards the end of this little overview to answer some questions. So don't be shy. Put them in chat, and I will read them later on. So yeah. So thank you, Shubham. I think we can. If you have anything else to add, we can come back to it a little bit later and see how much time we have. But that's definitely interesting story. Let's follow it back around counterclockwise, basically back to you, Katarina. Your session says, or is titled again, supply chain risk predictions with Neo4j graph data technology.
Yes.
Could you give us a bit of an overview of what that is?
Definitely. Can I share the screen? I prepared a couple of things.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. You can just enable screen sharing, and then we can switch over maybe here and add your screen. There we go.
See it?
Maybe this one. This was better. Yeah. I can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I will be talking about their supply chain risk prediction. And as I mentioned before, their logistics area and all these connections is like everyday life, and everything we move goods, we move information, we move money, and it's a lot of things, and it's connected. What I will be using is simulated data during my presentation from their transportation statistics, some programs, also World Port Index, international trade databases. And that was just like to simulate and to see how things are connected. So it's different, will be continents, different roads, how things connected. And what I want to point is when we're talking about the risk, it means like we don't have particular safety ground. Like in gymnastics, we should have the pillow in case we fall down. And we all remember that recently on Amazon W Series, we had some broken pieces in between all things that were basically working. So we got a crash. And I just want to point that to having that pillow, to have these like, say, umbrella to protect ourselves, to have this prediction, what will happen if things will become like not in a good place. So that I'm going to talk during my next week presentation in supply chain risk prediction. So I will go through their data modeling, calculations using the Neo4j graph technology. And yeah, but there are a couple of QR codes, which goes to my talk and a little bit more explanation regarding to that. We'll be welcome all participants to join. And thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much, Katarina. That was a good intro, a good overview. So very exciting. A use case, obviously, you can imagine a supply chain use case is a very networky use case. You have roads, you have transportation mechanisms, you have goods, you have all these things. You have, I guess, tolls. You have weather. You know, we all remember the freighter that was stuck in the Suez Channel a couple of years ago. I guess so. You know, all these things, and you have, unfortunately, crisis, war. You know, some routes may be not as safe anymore as they used to be. So that all flows into it. And I guess because of this nature, traditional type of database would be very unfit for this kind of scenario, to calculate all of these scenarios together. What's your experience here?
Yeah, exactly. So in a table, if we would use it, we don't have our things connected. As I mentioned before, like we don't have verbs. So the query time, if we would do it in the relationship database, basically on a second or third dips connections, like what will happen in something, In a SQL, it can take seconds, minutes, or even it will be not calculated at all. But Neo4j will stay consistent with their quick response query time. And it doesn't matter like how deep we will go, we will be still able to calculate and make efficient results ready just in the seconds. So that's where the Neo4j wins. We should not build the connection during the query time because it's already there, it's already exists because of their business model, because of the data model. I will also show during my presentation how to build the data model so it's efficient. Not always like we can create a perfect model maybe with the first try, because we think, all right, between this port and this port, maybe we will store the risk in the relationship. But once you check also the statistics on the performance of the query, maybe you can save it some other way. Maybe save the in the property of the node will be better. Maybe save it in the relationship property. So all these tweaks to make the calculations more quick. Neo4j, I think, the best ever. So I mean, not all their projects, I mean, would fit. Sometimes and table also good. I mean, the no complaint about table, this fine. But sometimes we do need the verbs to connect those columns to put together as a relationship.
Yeah. And maybe one follow-up question on this is, where do you see graphs or maybe AI technology that we are surrounded by these days? Is can they add how can they add most value to these supply chain management system? Maybe automating some of these sessions that are running in the backbone, or do you see anything in terms of like a good next step sort of coming out of this?
AI, it's a very good and also hard question because AI is evolving so much, and I may not know a lot of details because I'm just jumping into this area. Previously, I mostly focused on the medical and health. So this is supply chain. I'm still reading books. It's like having experts in the field and be just mathematician to calculate. It's two different things. So I don't feel a good sense of the data yet, but I consider AI could be helpful in like simulating things for now to adjust their prediction recommendation. Again, it's not 100% answer. We don't know the truth 100%, but give us estimate, give us kind of sense, like hypothesis estimation that what could happen potentially, and then we could answer more directly once we have the real data. So AI to me more like a helpful tool to get answer a little bit quicker right now, rather confident answer a little later. Does it make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. No, thank you very much, Katarina. Let's continue. Next up is Christian, and your session is titled "Knowledge Graph of Drugs Data for the Swiss Healthcare System." Tell us a little bit about this.
Yes. So as I still mentioned, I'm working for SwissDRG. So we are doing the so-called diagnosis-related groups. If you're in hospital, the hospital may charge the bill to the insurance company based on these diagnosis-related groups. And extra on top of these DRGs, there are so-called supplementary charges. And for example, there are for highly expensive drugs, for cancer or rare diseases, really lots of innovating products in the market. And for us, we're a small team. It's quite hard to figure out all the information about the new pharma products, about the different information, and it's hard to connect all the information that are in the internet. at the European Medical Agency, at Swissmedic, and all that stuff. So I tried to connect all the information with Neo4j, that we can use it at work, not as a decision support system, but only as an information support system. And yeah, that was quite interesting. And yeah, I made, as I said, some mistakes at modeling the graph. And if you want, I can share you, I show you one example.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah.
So I tried to figure out. Okay, so you should see. This is a normal example. We have substances, so ATC codes, and there we have in our normal ER or database or warehouse situation, for example, dimensional tables. And if we started, or as I started to transfer this data into nodes, I said, okay, with substances, I make one label, and with units and applications also. That was quite cool because I got really quickly my Excel table or relational table in graphs. But when I started to connect the graphs with graph algorithms like shorted paths, there was connection about through this unit, and this unit is completely yeah, not very useful as information, this shorted path. So if you decide then to leave the I say common labels out, and you delete them and you put them just in the attributes, then you can do shorted path algorithms which are useful. So here we see different products, and they are both treated, or both products are against multiple myelomas. So there's the same treatment option, for example. And with all this, you can decide as a beginner, at the beginning of your model, to put these dimension tables as attribute and not as labels. This is quite interesting, and that was a key experience for me. So you have a little bit to flip your mind, and that's kind of interesting and challenging.
Cool. All right, let's go back here. Very interesting, Christian. You said this is not really meant to support decision making. Is this more for, or did I misunderstand, or is it then more for information seeking, and who is going to be what audience are you building this for? Is it doctors? Is it insurance employees?
Yeah, so this development was kind of in-house, so we use it only for us as information base. In general, it's it's published on GitHub, so everybody can use it, even in Switzerland, because most of the data is Swiss data with kind of identifier codes of Switzerland. But in general, the connections are generally possible. If you see it as a decision support system tool, there are high levels of medical regulation. So this is not our field. If you are going into medical regulation, it's kind of hard. That's completely another issue. For us, it's only an information system, and we use it with Neo4j Bloom in general, and we are doing some traversals using stored ciphers, or use deep links, kind of this, to support our daily business, and not to make, I don't know, 5 Google searches. We can only have one Neo4j search.
Yeah, that makes sense. And because I I think Shubham, you mentioned this as well, is in the hallucinations and all these things with when it comes to AI. Do you plan on attaching this to some kind of internal AI system, agentic-based system, maybe of some sort that will then feed into this to make more, grounded decisions from, or more contextual decisions from the source, or is this encapsulated sort of as a standalone tool?
So at the moment, we don't have the time, and I finished my studies. So the next level, probably a colleague can do this, or other students. But in fact, I don't have the time to combine this with AI, GraphRAG, etc. So in fact, it should be a good idea to combine, and we made a small evaluation with a normal chatbot. To compare the results of my knowledge graph and the chatbot graph. And the chatbot graph had the problems that there was hallucination. There were good answers, but they were really not exactly what we wanted. So the next level would be to add this to an AI tool. But at the moment, we don't have the capacity because we have to do our daily business.
No. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Yeah, but maybe a next phase. It's always nice to expand on it. Yeah, and then finally, Luan, your session is titled "Harmonizing AI and Graphs: Building Intelligent Music Applications with Neo4j and Spring AI." So that sounds a bit more fun. Not that the other didn't sound fun. Sorry, I didn't want to imply it, but that sounds like a very cheerful, fun session with music and AI. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the music domain is something that I wanted to carry forward from the book, because that is a very we thought it was a very relatable domain to anyone trying to learn Neo4j. You just get it, and I thought I would carry that forward with a couple of intentions in mind, right? So one is, of course, my background is very serious enterprise grade software, right? This doesn't necessarily go very well with, every week here's a new technique and here's a new AI thing to do. It really doesn't go very well. And then you also have this almost this pressure for a lot of teams and a lot of companies to add AI, whatever it means. Usually it's a chatbot, right? That's where you start.
Yeah.
And you would imagine, well, I actually imagined, I will be like completely honest, how hard can it be? And it's really easy to add one, but usually they're very bad ones when you start off. And you will actually see a lot of applications that have a chatbot, but they're fun in the beginning. They can answer a couple of questions really well, but then they're not serious, right? That's a hard problem to solve. So I was exploring where to go with this talk. I did want to show how you can start with AI in an enterprise setting, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. So you'll actually see that my talk is really back to basics. I know there are like tons of great talks at Nodes 25 doing all kinds of advanced things with AI and GraphRAG and all kinds of things. Mine has none of that. It will still be fun, I promise you that. But it's gonna do two things. One is a lot of enterprise applications and a lot of developers that have their systems in production are still on the JVM, and they should be. So how do you, the Python tech stack and ecosystem has grown way, way, way faster than what you saw on the JVM, right? So that's good and that's bad. It's good because it's keeping up with every new trend and technique. It's bad because it's actually a bit of a gap for this set of developers to get started. Where do you get started? What can you really do? Do I have to learn Python? Can I put Python in production? All these kinds of questions. And what I see, like in my day-to-day job and life, is there's a lot of this analysis paralysis, let me throw something in, and then frustration, right? And then there's a new technique, so you want to add that, and you think it will solve your problem, but you don't. So what my talk is going to do is, the domain is very straightforward. It's a standard Spring Boot with Spring Data Neo4j application, right? So let's forget the AI for a moment. It's a good application. You can query the graph, you can get answers, right? That's good. What's the next thing I can do easily, right? In a weekend, less than a weekend, actually. Yes, I am going to go to the default and add a chat, right? So using Spring AI, super easy. You add a chat over your graph, but I don't believe in like giving it the reins to my database directly, right? So I said, okay, let me go incrementally and try and figure this out. What can I do with my existing queries? That's it, very simple. I'm not going to add anything new. I'm not going to fetch. I'm not going to do RAG. I'm not going to inject things into the context, nothing. What can I do with my existing queries? Turns out you can do quite a few things with your existing queries. It does hallucinate from time to time, and there are times when you would look at it and say, okay, that was really obvious, but for an LLM to chain tools, for example, is actually not that obvious. So I reached that point and I said, okay, that's good. And then I switched over to actually trying out Mbabel, which I think is a really solid framework, again, for the JVM integrate, Spring. So drop-in replacement. And that gives you the agentic side of of the AI. The graphs is, of course, backing that. That was really fun because what I'm going to show you in that part is, so I listen to a lot of music, and I'm one of the people that's not, I don't explore new music a lot, right? I think good music stopped in the 90s, sorry. But, but so what if I want to explore a new style, right? I think what I find with my current applications is like, they throw you an artist and then I hate it. That's exactly what it is. But what if you can get from an artist that you really like or a genre you really like very gradually to a new style, because genres evolve and they all influence each other, and you'll find elements of one that's in another, which adds more influences and so on. And what if you can build this progression of music to listen to? So that's the second part of my talk, but again, using very intuitive, standard Java code with frameworks to help you along the way. And I think for me, that's a very good starting point for enterprise developers to jump onto GenAI AI. You will have to add all the other techniques later, but there's no reason to start at that end. So that's generally where my talk will go.
Yeah, cool. So your talk is, if I understand it correctly, is more like almost like a little workshop condensed into a talk, where you you give example basically to the audience, and then they can take or follow your example and then implement it or repeat it, what you experience and how you build stuff, and then they can do it themselves if people
exactly. I'm intending for it to be a good solid starting point for someone to jump in and just try it out in a day without all the hype around it, and then explore from there. So I will switch a bit from the presentation to the code.
Okay, cool.
Do the live LLM answering the question. I cannot guarantee what it's going to say on the day, but I will be really close.
Who can?
So that's it. Yeah.
Super. Shubham, you were nodding a lot when Luan was saying in the beginning about the architectural setup and the building blocks basically of how she experienced and how he was tackling the challenge. Did you have anything to add to that, or did it just resonate with you very well?
Yeah, no, I think I really resonated that, like when you first start off with all this AI stuff, there is a lot of just garbage that comes out, and you realize garbage in, garbage out, right? And not only that, but you also realize a lot of these frameworks that are coming out they're mostly in Python or JavaScript, right? Like, there's not a lot in the sort of Java world. It's not, and I'm glad that Luan is kind of like addressing that, and that's fantastic. But also it's like like getting sort of determinism out of this LLM is key to a lot of the industries, right? Because at the moment a lot of the enterprises are very sort of anxious because they don't want to like let loose this AI that can do damage to their database, right? And so I think this is like really good topic for sure.
Yeah, cool. There's a question in chat I'd like to go to in a second, but Katarina, you had also a question for Luan.
Yes, I was telling a really great topic about the music, and I just want to like bring to the table, maybe open discussion. There is two key apps that majority people use for the music, like Spotify and Apple Music. And last year and this year, I have like really challenging what to choose because I listen bars and like of them, but there is some features that I really make them different. Every day when we listen something, those words are in our mind. So like their lyrics are very important. But Spotify has like less available lyrics rather just Apple Music. If we think about implementing graph technology into building their sense of what this song is about, and maybe we would like to rather listen to playlist with positive songs to lift us up compared to the podcast or something. So it just open question, but I do think like what you're doing and how the graph can help with mapping their sense of the music data. This is very exciting to see because previously I thought of music is just gigabytes of the memory stick, and how it can be actually mapped to their like Neo4j and kind of like this technology. So very great topic. Thanks.
That's a really great question. I'm sorry I don't have the answer for you. We've been playing with these music graphs for a long time, right? Previously, when I was at GraphRAG, we started this. We ran it every year. So lyrics are really hard. At the time, we didn't have the LLMs or GenAI or anything. We were back in the days of NLP and sentiment analysis. And first of all, looking at song lyrics, they are a nightmare for classic NLP, because there's a lot of slang in it. There's a lot of shortened words. Some of them don't even make sense. What people take, and then there's the human aspect, right? What people take away from those lyrics can mean very different things. So even your sentiment analysis can mean very different things. And I'll give you a good example where this is. We used to run, so there's this 30-day song challenge. Alex, Chris and I found that video we did with you just yesterday. We couldn't believe it. It was years and years ago.
Yes.
But basically this is, it runs in the month of December, and there's a tag, a song that made you happy, or a song that made you sad, right? And various such things. And you run it with a larger set of people that you actually know. And it's super interesting because you might actually see the same song that's been tagged, a song that made me happy and a song that made me sad, from two different people. And it could even be the same person eventually, because it really depends on how close you are to the music and what you're feeling at that point in time. And maybe one day you have, one day you listen to Metallica and you have road rage while you're driving. That's possible. One day it's like really comforting, and it's so lyrics are at least to me, a very hard beast to tackle. So I don't have an answer, but with LLMs now, maybe it's a bit better. So that's a good idea. We should probably revisit and see how that looks.
Yeah, definitely hard topic, but important on daily life, and it's affects us in a good way. I think even if we have the bad mood and very upset, we can listen something that lifts us up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Cool. I have a couple of questions in chat. I'd like to see if we got time to cover them before we call it a day for the session today. One I think maybe is good for you, Christian. It comes in from Bibi, and she asks, she's coming from a RDBMS or RAP background. How difficult is it for an average person to pick up a Neo4j? How difficult, maybe from your perspective, right? Because you just started this learning journeys a couple of months ago. How difficult was it for you to get to grips with Neo4j, and how to get to learn the technology and working with graphs?
Yeah. So at the beginning, it's very amazing, and you can learn very fast. So the learning curve makes really this. There are lots of resources on YouTube. There are this Graph Academy with structured learning possibilities. So you can start, I don't know, probably in a day or half a day, you get an overview. In one day, you get a good overview. And you can start with your own data, connect your database, and play around. So I think if you are quick enough and you have all the connections, after 1 hour or 2 hours, you have a graph with your data, your first graph with the data. But then I think you have to involve, and like every other learning curve, it makes this, and then it flattens, and then you need to get to the next level. And I think to get to the next level, it takes, I don't know what your project is, but probably 2 months, one or 2 months, when you really connect different data, lots of data, test it, document it, make all the project management stuff. So it depends a little bit on your project. Quick start, and then for the next level, I think you need 4 weeks or 8 weeks.
Luan, maybe as author of many Neo4j books and with a long time background of working with digital, what's your view on this, or do you have something to add here to what Christian is saying?
I agree with what Christian said with that timeline. I think that's very realistic. What I would like to add is, if you're starting off with Neo4j, especially coming from a relational world, my suggestion is that you pick a domain that you really enjoy and you're really familiar with. So I think that's your best path to success. So it could be your work domain that you really like, or your business domain. It could be gardening. It could be whatever. A lot of people would start with these football graphs and sports graphs. I really recommend doing that because it allows you to reason about something that you know very well, and you should see within the first few hours or days that it fits together, and you can answer all these questions that never crossed your mind. So I recommend starting that way, that it's more enjoyable, it's more relatable, and then you can switch over to the more formal stuff. So that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, thank you. Katarina, you were nodding as well. Anything from you?
Yeah, just quick note regarding how fast it can be. I teach business statistics, and just to give a understanding to my students, like how this compared to the table, I can say during my classes, student can get at least understanding and see how things are connected. I'm not teaching it already in a big perspective, but like just a comparison. I can definitely say a few classes, a few times, and it's very quickly. Yes, completely agree with Christian. Like, it's very straightforward starting a learning curve, very easy and very accessible.
Cool. There is another question from Desired, specifically for you, Luan. If what you are showcasing is like building a recommendation engine in the graph, if that is what you're presenting, could you?
Could be thought that way. It could be. So it is a recommendation engine, yes, but it is it's not something that, so the recommendations aren't what I can produce purely on the basis of the graph, and I'll give you some reasons why. So the semantic aspect of it, right? So if it was a traditional recommendation engine, I was listening to, Spotify or Apple Music, for example, you have a playlist, you can fairly easily, no, easy is a bad word. You can predict, or you can come up with like another playlist. And that's what Spotify, Apple Music do like extremely well today. What my talk does is it expands it a bit more to allow the user to ask questions to your graph, but also take advantage a bit of the, of the general knowledge that an LLM has. So in my talk description, you'll see it is, artists that were influenced by Pink Floyd, and also worked with electronic producers, right? I did not know the answer to that till I actually started working on the demo. Things like this. And what it does is it pops up very interesting things. So at least on my demo data set, I had, let me remember, I had Coldplay, Radiohead, I forget the third one, and and then the LLM added, oh, I found another artist in your graph, which I had never heard of, called Triana. And it said, but they were influenced by Pink Floyd, but they didn't work with electronic producers. And then I continued down this path, and I said, okay, show me. Of late, I've been very interested in flamenco music. So, is there anyone that blends rock with flamenco music? And Triana came up again. And then I did some research, and I listened to it this morning on the way to work. And it's pretty amazing for like a small graph. Without the LLM, I don't think I would have surfaced that. I just don't think so. But with the LLM, it produced this like 70s Spanish band born in Sevilla, and apparently they started Andalusian rock, and it's pretty cool. So it's a recommendation, but I would say it's a recommendation which is more personalized, more in the moment chat style, where you can give it, what you want to hear, what influences it, or maybe as Kateryna said, how you're feeling, and I think it would do a decent job. So that's to answer your question.
Super. Thank you very much. Luan, we have one question from Amit. Amit asks, how to make sure the knowledge graph is always up to date when data flow is daily or regularly or some sort of interval maybe, and an AI agent is connected to it and receives some current data. He gave an example of energy price data. It could be anything. Shubham, how do you treat this kind of regular flow of data in, and how do you make sure that everything stays consistent, everything stays still reliable, and the context doesn't get lost?
Yeah, and that's a really good question and something that we are currently working on. So I would say like there's two parts to it. One is keeping the knowledge graph up to date itself, right? And that's with like regular ingestion of data and making sure we have like, like periodic jobs to, remove any stale data using TTLs. The second part is also that we can also do it at the retrieval time, right? So the AI agent, when it gets the data, it knows how old the data is, right? And so it can make that reason, that this is, like re-rank it and make the, like answer based on how old the data is. The third way of doing it is we give our agents access to the APIs themselves, right? Like, so it can actually go, and reason that, the database, the data in the knowledge graph is old. Let me go and get the live data and answer the question. Mm-hmm. So, that's kind of the strategies that we are using. And currently it's a work in progress as well in our, but that's the strategies we have used.
Cool. Katarina, because, obviously energy prices, it sounds like a supply chain issue. You have anything to add to this question from Amit?
Always learning new things. As we hear right now, like how these can be things updated, I was thinking from the different perspective. So maybe some another angle. When I have the data, usually I keep updates with the deployment of the Python system, and also checking how the data is, for example, in the Google spreadsheet. So it's connected link if the data updated into the source information, then our algorithms on the Python side is also grabbing like every sum of time. So it's always like real time. So we have this connection between the table, Python algorithm deployment, and the graph. So this is how previously I did a couple of projects, and this loop was always running. So it's live. It's always up to date. But I'm open to explore. It's very interesting to see how the AI agent also works and how it knows that data is updated. Because in the Google spreadsheet, it's just automatically like it updates, it triggers algorithm, triggers Python, triggers everything. So very interesting to see how we all can get these updates. Same.
Absolutely. And very interesting. I think we are basically at the end of the session. Time flies. This was a quick, I would say, intro to 4 sessions that are happening at Notes next week. Like I said, we have over 140 more. Luan, Christian, Shubam, and Katarina will be speaking next week. So if you thought any of these sessions were interesting, please register for Notes, tune into their sessions, and watch them live. Before I let you all go, we have one more Going Meta stream happening on Neo4j YouTube channel next Tuesday on the 4th. And obviously here's the link to Notes. I put it in the channel as well in the video description. So please, I just invite you all, check it out, come by. We record most of these, or I think all of these sessions, so you can watch them later if we're having all these sessions happening, some of these sessions, 4 tracks happening in parallel, so you can come back to them again later. And it just leaves me to say thank you very much to Luan, Christian, Shubham, and Katarina for spending the time with me today, for giving us a little teaser to your presentations. I'm very, very excited about all of them. I hope I can watch them next week. And any final words from you before we go?
Thank you so much. Excited to join next week and let the world be connected as a graph.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a nice word. Any other words, or shall we call it a day?
No, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to a lot of talks. It's always hard to, I think, plan which ones you're going to actually watch, because you have all these in parallel. So at least I will be doing my homework a couple of days before and figure out which ones I'm going to be hopping between. But it was great speaking with you all today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. And this has been really insightful, because when we work in one domain, we don't really see what others are doing and how others are using graphs. And this is really insightful and really great. So I'm really looking forward to all the talks in Notes 2025 for sure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. And referencing to the question of Bibe, so as I said, 11 months ago, I recognized Neo4j, and now I'm a speaker, so the learning curve goes up.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Thank you for spending the time today. Thank you for speaking next week, being part of Notes 2025. I hope to see you all join the sessions. If you think it's too many in parallel, we record everything, as I said. You can watch them later on, and there is a nice agenda builder there, which makes it easy for you to follow the sessions you want to follow. So yeah, have a good rest of the day, rest of the week. See you soon, and take care.